Tonight I would like to discuss the ninth yana and situations connected with that, overall tantric situations. The ninth yana is being that of Ati or Ati Yoga. Which is the final stage of beginning and end of the journey. The questions of Ati is final. Not final in the sense of that you have finished making your statement, that you have nothing more to say, but final in the sense that once you have said something that you feel that you said enough, and the further words are maybe a creation of space rather than remarks as such particularly, that the tantric journey could be regarded as walking through mountain path, winding mountain path, has all kinds of dangers, obstacles, problems takes place constantly. The wild animals and earthquakes and landslides, all kinds of things takes place. But still, one takes the journey. One is able to get through those. And then, when you come to the summit of that mountain, finally, not particularly you begin to celebrate that you have achieved, that you have conquered, that you have actually attained the Mount Everest or whatever. Instead of posting a flag of your nationality onto the summit of the mountain, in the Mahāti style seem to be look down again. You see this vast perspective of mountains, rivers, meadows, woods, jungles, plains. Once you're on the summit of the mountain, you begin to look down. You feel more attracted towards the panoramic quality of that what you have seen. So from that point of view, this journey is not regarded as final journey, but re-appreciating what you have gone through. Again, you wanted to get back to the journey that you are going through. So that seemed to be a beginning of the end and end of the beginning, whatever. And the concept of Ati teachings in the ninth yana, Tantra, it talks in terms of enormous space that is involved. Space from this point of view, not so much of a space opposed to the boundary that makes the space, but a space from the sense that that there is a sense of total openness. And such openness has never been, the question of such openness has never been raised. And often this particular yana is regarded as the king of the old yanas. And in fact, traditionally, technical term, Wangyur Tapki Tekpa, which literally means imperial yana. Opposed to regal one. The king had conquered his own country, but in order to be emperor, he had to conquer a lot of other territories, a lot of other continents. Otherwise, the king can't be referred to as emperor. The reason why it is regarded as imperial yana is because the perspectives of the Hinayana discipline is also seen as spaciousness. And the perspective of the Mahayana discipline is also being spaciousness. Let alone the perspectives of the Kriya Yoga, Upa Yoga, Anuttara Yoga, and so forth, are also seen as a spacious perspective. So, in some sense, if we could review back what we were discussing, what we were talking, what we were learning, that things we discussed in the past few weeks, that we be taking that point of view, that what we have studied already, what we learned already, what we talked about, is from this perspective of Ati, so that we were able to view the characteristics of Yanas and characteristics of disciplines in the form of openness, spaciousness, that it is inevitable. And the notion of wakefulness from that point of view is also one thing which is final wakefulness of Ati level, Ati Yoga level. One of the definitions of Ati Yoga teaching or discipline is that which transcends coming, that which transcends going, that which transcends dwelling. In this case, it is something more than the traditional tantric slogan, Advaita, non-dual, not two, something more than that. And in this case, we are looking from the point of view of true reality, not even level of slogan or belief as such, that things are as they are, very simply, extremely simply so. And therefore things are unchanging, therefore things are open at the same time. The relationship between you and your world is no relationship. Because such a relationship is either there or they aren't. One cannot manufacture a concept, idea, which might make you feel better. From the point of view of Ati's approach is concerned, that the rest of the Yanas are trying to comforting you. If you feel separateness, okay, don't worry, there is non-duality, is your saving grace. And trying to rest your mind in it. Everything's going to be okay, don't cry. And in this case, it's such blunt and such a vast attitude of a total flop. That as if the sky is turned into a gigantic pancake and suddenly descended on your head. Which ironically creates enormous space at the same time. That is my artist's approach. It's a larger way of thinking, larger way of viewing. We talk about this tradition, that tradition, the Svatantrikas, or the Yogacharyans, Madhyamakins, or the Kriya Yogins, Mahayogins, Anuttara Yogins. There's so much quarrel goes on between all of those little things. All speaks of language of totality. And every one of them claims they got the answer. The Hinayanas said that they got the answer because they know the reality in their own way. And the Mahayanas said the Bodhisattva is the best guy that you can ever find in the world. And the Tantric practitioners would say that the most powerful and most crazy person that is unconquerable, who achieved siddhas, magics, all kinds, is fantastic. Let them believe. It's okay. But what does that mean? To us personally, as students who want to practice, who want to experience, actually, if we could make Ati Yoga remark that these yogas, Yanas, and experience that we'll be discussing, are purely creating a successive, primitive, more advanced, further advanced, more mechanized toys. At the beginner's level, when the kids are too young and they can't crank up machine, switch on electronic gadgets, so you create what's known as creative play toys that we have, bricks and sticks, have brightly colored. We try to put them together. And then when the child is capable of relating with the further sophistication, that we have those particular toys that rattle if you turn them round, and toys which makes noise. If you push them, if you set on them, they squeak. And then we have a further sophisticated toy when the child begins to get more and more inquisitive and sophisticated and coordinated with the mind and body, whatever inquisitiveness. And then we have gadgets. The child will see if you push one end of the stick, the other end of the stick has beautiful flowers coming out, or Humpty Dumpty coming out from the other end. And then we go on from that level until the level in adulthood that we keep on buying toys for ourselves. If you're rich enough, you buy a sports car for your teenager. If your parents are brave enough, color television. When you're older, you buy yourself Encyclopedia Britannica stuff that you can construct yourself, put together. And then you buy yourself hammer and pair of pliers, nails, electric saw, and you build yourself a house. It's the ultimate creative play. That you have constructed a magnificent building. Depends on the level of your wealth. That of pine, or maple, or redwood, cedar. That actually I have built a house. I've designed the whole thing. In fact, I thought about the plumbing system, electrical system, everything. Isn't that fantastic? I actually built a house for myself, and I can sell it. People came and admired the house that I built. Fantastic. Or I have thought up in a certain gadget that I have thought up a new kind of motor car, new kind of aeroplane, new kind of submarine, new kind of hovercraft. I have thought up and I actually built it, and it actually works. Isn't it fantastic? And that are the yanas that we're going through is similar situation. Is kind of, as we grow up, more and more we become more sophisticated and more fascinated. We actually are reduced into childlike level constantly, and our abilities, fascinations become greater because we feel that we can build fantastic toys. Not only that you can enjoy it alone, but you can sell it, you can market it, you can make lots of money, so you can build more toys. And later on, you'll be accepted as an important man of the society. You become an architect. You build whole city, whole museum, whole zoo, and fantastic, extremely powerful, encouraging. But somehow at that level, even that level, we haven't got to the Maha-Ati level exactly yet, at this point. We are still fascinated by our toys, which are more extensive toys, extensive occupation of whatever it may be. So the question here is, in the Maha-Ati level, that those little tricks that we play to prove ourselves, entertain ourselves, are no longer regarded as anything particularly, but everything at the same time. It's the level that while we are building our apartment houses, designing our museum, our zoo, then suddenly that whole sky turns into a gigantic pancake and drops on you. And that's the level, and as far as Maha-Ati is concerned, we are talking about that level. It's there's a new dimension of surprise, which you never thought, never expected. That one never expected the sky will drop on your head. It's maybe a fairy tale, or maybe a children's story. If you are interested in writing children's story, you might write it as a great author who had a great idea, but you actually don't believe that. And the sky turns into blue pancake and drops on your head. Nobody would believe that. But actually, it does happen. In terms of Mahati experience, actually it does happen. There's a new dimension of shock, new dimension of logic that you try to sort out your mathematical problems by working with a blackboard, notebook. And there's another dimension mathematical problem begins to descend on you. Or another philosophical, another religious problems descends on you, which gives you an entirely new way of looking at the whole thing. The whole thing becomes a different perspective completely. And it seems that at this point, if you're trying to catch what we're trying to say, quite possible that you can't actually captivate that idea. It is quite possible that you don't understand a word of it, the whole thing. Even you can't imagine the faintest way, but it is possible that there are situations in which exist that is beyond our logic, beyond a system of thinking. And that's not impossibility. It is highly possible. And the basic traditional teachings talks about the rug is pulled under your feet. That's quite understandable. If somebody kicks you out of your apartment or house, the rug is pulled under your feet, obviously. You don't relate with your world. But nobody's thought the sky is going to collapse on you. It's an entirely different approach. Nobody has ever thought of that. And no one imagines no such landlady or landlord can pull that trick on you. We are not talking in terms of, in the Mahati situation, we are not talking in terms of ground, how we settle down, how we find our way round particularly. But we are talking about how we develop our headroom. Developing headroom. The headroom is becoming important thing. The space above us, how that could give us relation, to relate with the reality in the world. Well, this is last time we are talking about this subject for a little while, and I don't think we can go into too much details, that I can only finger paint of a subject that we're discussing. Maybe we should switch topic into some other area, which is the notion of crazy wisdom that I wanted to talk about, which might interest you in some sense. That there is a different aspect and different ideas, a notion of craziness. In American Indian tradition, we talk about crazy horse or whatever, that is some kind of crazy, old, wise, eccentric guy who is a great warrior but still has guts of some kind, and referred to it as crazy horse's chauvinistic title. Quite rightly so, maybe. Who knows? On the other hand, the notion of crazy is a very tricky word in the English language. Being crazy is also associated with the idea of being absurd, on the verge of lunatic. And sometimes we talk about somebody is crazy about music, or somebody is crazy about honey and sugar. That we talk about in terms of excessive usage of the pleasure or the fascination, and level of, you might just destroy yourself by being so crazy about whatever it may be. And also the notion of craziness from other sense, that there is a level that we can relate with it, is unconventional. In a sense that you could say that if you're trying to bring somebody as a business partner who agrees with your business proposals, will make lots of money out of this. If you approach uncrazy person, probably by your logic, and who would love to get into as being part of your business partner. Whereas if you approach such intelligent, crazy people, and automatically will see through you, see through the holes that you're creating, the neurosis that you're creating, and one doesn't approach such a person as business partner. And you say, oh, let's not talk to him. He's crazy. He will see through. In other words, that means he will see through me, see through us. He wouldn't buy our simple logic, our trip as such. And maybe we're getting close from that level of being crazy, is that transparency, view of transparency, which cuts through conventional norm of some kind, or conventional emotions, excitability. But still relates with some kind of basic ground that we could work on. And in such person's craziness, there is a lot of room, a lot of trust, and a lot of solidity at the same time. At the same time, you could say that the grandparents' level of orthodoxy is a crazy level. That our grandparents doesn't understand our culture. They're so much soaked in their own culture of orthodoxy, and their own norms, their own laws, their own disciplines. And they are crazy in their own ways, which is practically unapproachable. You can't shake their faith and their conviction, but at the same time you feel that because of your frustration, well, you have something to say, but they don't respond to you, so they regard as semi-mad and crazy at the same time. In the terms of crazy wisdom from this point of view, I don't think it fits in another of those cases particularly. It's basic norm, obviously, basic logic exists with the notion of sanity, notion of relating with the world, how much temperatures need to boil up hot water in order to make a cup of tea. Oh, how much pressure that you could put on to educate your student. And such level of craziness is, from that point of view, wise. So there is a basis of being absolutely wise, knowing exactly what to do. The handicrafts have already been trained. The people know how to handle themselves in terms of relating with the world. From the level of how to make good fire in the fireplace, up to the level of fine point of philosophy. That such a wise person is well versed and have some kind of idea, some kind of basic logic is developed. That's the level of wisdom. And beyond that, having developed such wisdom, and a person knows how to make a bonfire, campfire, how to pitch up a tent, how to brush teeth, so forth. That there is, on the top of that knowledgeability, absolutely knowledgeable, and then on top of that there is a craziness beginning to discern. It's like have a basis of something, then you begin to ornament on the top of it. So in other words, a crazy wisdom cannot happen unless there's a basic understanding of things, knowledge of how things work, how things function as they are. Some kind of trust in the normal function of karmic cause and effect realities. Having highly and completely trained, then there's enormous room for crazy wisdom. That logic, that wisdom is not exactly gone crazy. On the top of the basic logic, the basic norm, the craziness is further affectation of higher sanity, higher power, higher magic, if you like to put it that way, can exist. The attributes of being crazy at this point is a notion of fearlessness. Fearlessness in the sense that seeing logical reason how things should work, and then there's further power and energy as to if things need to be destroyed, should be destroyed, and if things need to be nursed, should be nursed. If things need to be encouraged, should be encouraged. And there's all kinds of bluntness that takes place with that as well at the same time. Which brings another question at this point. That notion of bluntness is somehow a notion of openness, but not in the sense of purely a notion of constantly that you're trying to improvise what's come up with the nature of a world, nature of a cosmos. Cosmic structure, not improvising, which has two kinds of aspects. Improvising because you find your convenient accident that is appropriate to you, and you improvise as you go on, which is a kind of by accident you become a famous comedian. Not because of your perceptiveness, but purely you happen to make some mistakes and you begin to blow up some certain things. You begin to say the wrong things at the wrong time, and that's hilarious. You become a famous comedian. Which is so outrageous. and therefore you become famous comedian. That was kind of approaching from the back door, even if there's a back door at all. You're just hanging out in the backyard. And another approach is that there is also the humor of the things being seen as they are, and the weakness of the situation being seen things as they are. So a person feels, crazy wisdom person feels that if things need to be destroyed, strikes on the point, because it is worth destroying rather than worth preserving. And certain things need to be preserving because although it might be a level of a decaying, becoming old hat and becoming just dropping out of the basic situation, but still need to be nursed very gently, very necessarily. So the crazy wisdom point in this case is a sense of perceptiveness with fearlessness, with the bluntness, but fundamentally being wise at the same time. But not in particular in keeping with certain doctrines and certain particular disciplines that be presented, certain format that being worked out for us, and the ones following that particular dictionary term or moralistic books, but somehow that there is an endless spontaneity that takes place constantly. So that seems to be the basic point of crazy wisdom. There's room for being blunt. There's room for being open at the same time. And that room is created, a situation of the whole activity is created by the environment itself. And the person, the crazy wisdom person is just the activator, just one of the conditions that are involved there. Do we have discussions on this? Are the aisles available?
I'm wondering if in following the tantric path, if students like ourselves necessarily have to go through practices such as the 6 yogas of Naropa.
Well, that's one of the aspects of the practice, but not the only one alone particularly. It's not absolutely necessary, but there's a possibility that by following such path that you find different way of relating with the energy. But that's not regarded, the 6 doctrines of Naropa is not regarded as the and the only way particularly. There are other ways already. Topless old gentleman.
On the Ati summit, on the top of the pass, the traveler looks back. The scene he has traversed. So in this very moment, is he not in dualism? He sees the world as relates to him. he is very concrete in that moment. When does the transcendence beyond the ego, beyond the dualistic awareness of himself and his environment take place?
It's not so much that the person had to actually transcend the duality at the time, particularly, but the person develops a certain particular type of attitude that the duality, maybe in theory, maybe in just a vague perception level, is not relevant anymore. That they begin to see a different perspective altogether. So that seems to go through the whole Yana principles. As we go through from the first Yana to the ninth Yana, that we begin to realize certain points of reference are not relevant, particularly. It's old hat already.
As sequel to that, you talked about another logic taking over, so that the person at that very moment you describe will slip into another reality, the consensus logic, this consensus reality with which he is familiar, ceases perhaps in that moment. And if that happens, does he still function as a human being, or does he become really insane as far as human experience is concerned?
Well, I think we have a large guess on that. Is that when a person becomes clear and precise in what the person is doing, there is a natural instinct begin to take place, which is in fact much sharper than what we call so-called ordinary human beings, which are completely screwed up in any way. According to how we feel that we are still looking for alternatives, which is another way of screwing ourselves up further, looking for alternatives. And we have no way of saving ourselves, of freeing ourselves at all, apart from just feel terribly bad about the whole thing, and feel so upset about the whole thing, and inspired to the freedom of the liberation, salvation, which screw it up further, because then we think that we could change ourselves into something else better than ourselves, which makes the whole thing worse, doubly worse. And so we haven't done a good job of ourselves from that point of view. But as far as this particular direction, what we're talking about is, I better not answer your question actually. And this seems to be the whole point, is we have to find out if you're brave enough just to do it and see what happens. Good luck, sir.
Is there any compassion from the point of view of Maha'ati? Is there compassion from the point of view of Maha'ati?
Well, compassion in itself seems to be a term and a concept. But if you're talking purely in terms of openness, warmth, that exists obviously, because the world has become 100 times more naked from the point of view of the Maha'ati practitioners, that are seeing complete naked world, and almost in the level of marrows, rather than the level of skin or flesh, bones, but level of marrows. So, I suppose we could say, if we could about the lower Yanas term called compassion, I suppose so. But I mean, that seems to be the point. The problem, actually, that we have developed our idiom, our terms, which makes ourselves feel happy and better, because we have a lot of things to talk about in terms of compassion, in terms of shunyata, in terms of prajna, or all of those little things that goes on, somehow has become in fact more of a problem than actually a reality of nakedness from that point of view.
So those concepts are still little toys.
Well, I mean, there's everything, if you like to see it. You know, there's the warmth, there's openness, and there's penetration, and there's everything. But if you begin to divide them and cut into little pieces, like the sirloin steak or the what else you have, and then we begin to divide the ox into different prices. That certain part of beef is more expensive than certain part of beef. That the Dharma is being marketed. That's what has been said, actually by Vimala Mitra. That the reason why Mahāti teaching is necessary is because so far up to the 8th Yana level down onward, that the Dharma has been marketed as a particular juicy piece of square of particular food, like cutting bread. So the level of Mahāti is to save Dharma from being marketed, to feel the wholesomeness of the whole thing.
And what's so hard about having a pancake fall on your head? What's so hard about having a pancake fall on your head? I mean, what is there any inspiration to go on to have pancakes fall?
Well,
on your
I
head?
think it's a big jerk. It's a big jerk, a big message that you can't even just jerk and say that you're on the way from next door neighbor. Say, I had a little pancake fall on my head, what can I do? And I want to wash my hair, so you have no room. And it's a cosmic pancake that falls all over the place on the face of the earth. That you can't escape. That's the basic point. That the problems are cosmic as well as the promises are cosmic from that point of view.
It seems that we began the path with the seed syllable as part of us. The basic ambiguity is what brought us to the path. And when we begin Tantra, then there seems to be a clear discovery of the basic ambiguity. Does this ambiguity become again apparent at Mahāti? Is it the same thing?
Well, you see, the reason why ambiguity is that you begin to feel somebody has the truth, and you may not have it. It's like feeling that the father of the household begin to complain to the rest of the kids and the women and children in the house, who's stolen my $100 bill in my pocket? And somebody got to have it. And if you lost it, you begin to complain that your wife might have stolen, confiscated, your older son might have done it, older daughter might have done it. So ambiguity comes from regarding truth is only one thing that you can only get. Not realizing that there is cosmic pancake that is possible. And we've been so starved to death from that point of view. Our approach to reality and the truth is so poverty-stricken that we don't realize that truth is not a one truth, but it's all truth. It could be everywhere, like a raindrop, opposed to water coming out of a faucet that only one person can drink at a time. And that has become the problem. And I think that's one of the cultural trainings that we've faced, is that being said that you are the only person who had this, and you can receive it, but nobody else. That is a philosophical, psychological, religious, emotional tactic that said that you can do it, but nobody else. And you think that you are the only one who does that. You crank up your machine and you do it. And if somebody else had done it already, you begin to feel jealous and resentful, actually, that the Dharma is being marketed or auctioned, in fact. And I think there's a lot of problems with that. And it does, from the point of view of Ati level, is that there's all Dharma rather than the Dharma as such. The one and only, it doesn't apply anymore. That if the gigantic pancake falls on your head, it's on everybody's head.
What kind of exploration do we do when we go through the tantric yanas of the seed syllable? Doesn't seem to be, we don't seem to be able to penetrate it actually. It seems to be always there, always ambiguous.
Well, I think that, again, when you talk about how we could do it, you're obviously asking a question for yourself. Just purely a question for yourself. And how we, you don't really mean we. Or you mean me.
Yeah.
And that has been the problem, actually.
Yeah.
And we can't just do me trip, but we have to do we trip properly. And we have to do it properly. In terms of that, how we could relate with the rest of the thing. The Tantra is regarded as linear situation of continuity, but at the same time, Tantra is also blanket rainfall at the same time, from that point of view. That there's continuity, there's personality, but there's the publicness happens at the same time. Because for the very reason that everybody has aggression, passion, and ignorance, which is fairly well distributed, pretty much to everybody's level. So that seems to be the point. And I don't think there's how to begin, particularly, is the problem. And you got it. You got your passion, you got your aggression, that's it. And you can begin from that level if you like. And that's you should regard it as your own unique family heirloom, or you could regard it as national heritage. I'm saying the same thing.
All that you've taught us about Tantra seems so far away from me that I can only approach it like science fiction. How should we, who are sort of plodding along on the basic level of meditating every day, approach all of these amazing things?
Well, I would suggest exactly the same way as you ask your question. And let's find out. And I don't think I'm in a position to tell you exactly what to do or exactly what not to do particularly, but I can present the problem, possibilities, and you have asked the question, and let us find out what's happening. Good night.
Thanks.
You can do it. Shiny-headed gentleman over there.
My question is about an egoless impermanence made of self-existing energy in a state of total panic with transcendent awareness in spite of wearing a cosmic pancake on its head. My question is that a Buddhist?
That's good poetry. But what is the question?
The question is in relating to the various aspects that you've presented to us. As we lead our everyday, ordinary lives, is there any reason to try to be more than what we just are?
Well, you see, you don't have to try to catch the universe like trying to catch a grasshopper.
You don't have to try to catch what?
Trying to catch the universe is like trying to catch a grasshopper or flea. It's okay. And you don't have to do something with what you have experienced particularly. But why don't you let them be as they are, which might be the necessary measurement. If you want to actually use them, you have to let them be. You can't drink the rest of the water on this earth so that it will quench your thirst eternally. But you have to leave some of the waters out. You might drink a glass of water that might quench your thirst, but you have to leave the rest of the waters, rivers and oceans. So if you want to drink this water again, if you're thirsty again, you could drink more. So you have to leave some room somewhere that you don't have to gulp everything up and it's a much nicer thing to do. In fact, it's polite. I think that seems to be what the problem we're facing is that everybody is so hungry and thirst that they want to take the universe as their prey at once. For my dinner or for my breakfast, I don't care. And this is most urgent than anything else. And we don't think about somebody else who might have just humble request that you just want to have a sip of a glass of milk out of your glass. And just a piece of meat out of your plate. And we haven't really thought about that properly. And we've been told we should be devotional, which means we should be more hungry, and we should receive all the blessings in our system, which means that once you are hungry, you should suck everything, all the systems that exist, all the resources that exist, we should gulp, eat up everything, including our own systems. So we don't find ourselves being actually productive human beings, and we find ourselves monsters from that point of view. And we have a lot of problems with that. Unless you have the umbrella notion of Mahati, which says that it's okay, everything's okay. Just take a pinch of salt a spoon of soy sauce, just one shot of whiskey. And don't rush. Everything's going to be okay. You're going to be plentiful if you want. Just cool it. Just cool it. And one doesn't have to do the complete job of the whole thing at once. And if somebody who's telling you that story, that message is more courageous, they might say that if you go too far, you might become a cosmic monster. But very few people have guts to say that. I think there's some little pep talk is just about to present. Yeah.
Since this is the last night, we thought it would be appropriate to say a few things. You'll all be leaving here and going back to wherever. And Naropa Institute seems to be closing down after this evening. It's been a very interesting, very strange, very confusing, very powerful summer. And as you all know, we've been facing our share of difficulties. We've also had a tremendous amount of success. In the past week, we've been able to raise more than $20,000, and including pledges, more than $40,000. And while this does not solve all our problems, it's very positive feedback from our environment. I'd like to express the feelings of the staff, and I hope the entire Naropa learning community, that given the energy of the people here, the energy of the people on the staff, the energy of the faculty, the all-encompassing inspiration and blessings of you, Rinpoche, we we have every intention, and we will be back. Thank you.
I'm actually concerned and somewhat slightly worried that how you're going to handle the whole thing, that if we just overextended ourselves and you got completely zoned and you are completely bewildered when you go back, wherever you're going back, and or else you might have too much clever reference point and vocabularies and clever logics that you're going to use to manipulate your girlfriend, your boyfriend, and your parents, your world. And I'm rather concerned about the whole thing. Not that we made particularly outstanding resource of such thing particularly, but that since this institution is started at an early level, on basis on new thinking approach of some kind, which might give you some kind of food for your ego, which is a big responsibility. I feel rather concerned. I don't know how we could handle this. And largely it's completely up to you people, obviously. that you can't have a big uncle, big brother watching over your shoulder. And now onward, as you go back home and try to develop your living situation, learning situation, whether you decide to come back and work with us or whatever, it's your world. Which at the same time I feel very grateful, in fact, that people would be able to realize that introduction of your world, that after all, world is not all that bad or confused, but world can be explored like an Arab Institute project explored its own world. So you could do the same thing wherever you go, whatever you do. But one of the basic trend or some kind of seed that we would like to plant in your mind, part of your subconscious mind or unconscious or dream level, whatever, is that I feel that it is absolutely important to make practice of meditation is a source of your strength, source of your basic intelligence. And think about that. Maybe you haven't received a proper meditation instruction on how to handle yourself, but you know there's such a possibility you could sit and do nothing for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Just sit and do nothing. In a certain part of your life situation. And that is possible. Just do that and just think of us. You can think about Narava Institute while you're sitting, if you like. But do something. Just stop acting, speeding. Just sit, do something. Do nothing. And I would like you to carry that back home, wherever you go. And you shouldn't be too embarrassed to tell that message to your parents, your relatives, your friends. You should take pride in that you've learned a very valuable message, that you can actually survive by doing nothing. Which nobody believes that. And people will think you just purely will perish or go cuckoo if you sit for 20 minutes do nothing. That's not true. As we know, you've done it. You watch us do it. So please think of that particular situation, which is very important. And also it is very necessary that if you can relate with our project and our work that involved, that furthering what we're trying to do, that if necessarily, if you need further information in terms of what we're doing, our projects and our perspective visions, maybe that you can write to us, work with us, call us, that hopefully that you could be spokesman of our particular gathering here, which you can't ignore yourselves that you took part in it already. And in any case, that I find myself being appreciating a lot of the faculty members being said so at the same time, and they appreciate the comradeship with the student-teacher relationships, that everybody was dynamite, whatever that may be. And you seem to help and seem to work together. In other words, that we didn't create a situation of insanity in you, and that you become more sane than when you came and registered in our place here at the beginning, that you made a lot of progress, psychologically, spiritually, experientially, scholarship, whatever. So, that we created Narava Institute ourselves. It's nothing to do with me alone, who just thought up the idea. It doesn't mean anything. A lot of people have a lot of ideas about things. And you joined us. Administration had worked with it all together. So this is, whether you like it or not, is our manufacture. And I would like you to remember that we have done something very powerful and important on the faces of this earth called the United States of America, in Boulder, Colorado. Good night.